Dobs can answer first, followed by Pablo, or whatever you want to do. How did football first start for you? So early experiences of playing. Obviously, you're going to have, Pablo, you grew up in Spain, didn't you? So you're going to have maybe totally different culture, totally different experiences to James. So it'd be good to get a good insight into both.
Yeah, for me, Adam, it was sort of like the early age of really playing for a local club. My mum and dad sort of follow football anyway, so I think from my dad's point of view, I wasn't really going to do anything else at that age. But for me, as soon as I started playing it, it was just a case of enjoying it really, and kind of moving on from sort of age group to age group to a point where it became quite competitive for me. But yeah, from early ages, I just remember sort of playing in the park with my dad, and then joining a sort of local team, and then it kind of went from there really. And like I said, through football, I think you do meet a lot of friends that way as well.
Yeah. Well, in your early days, like, how much did you play football? Did you get home from school straight out? Were you out till dark? Were you playing all the time?
Ridiculous, like, yeah, whether it was in the playground at school, or sort of, like I said, coming home, playing with my dad in the park, and my mates in the park as well. I think that's what it's all about really, especially sort of our era. We're all similar ages in some cases, but yeah, I think that's an important thing really for me, is, you know, if you enjoy going to sort of the academy sessions and sort of your local sort of training sessions from the club, I think it's also good to sort of do extra as well, whether that is just, you know, even kicking the ball against the wall.
Can you remember what age you first joined the club? So a grassroots club. Do you remember what age you started?
Going back a bit now, I think I was about 5 or 6. I lived in Texworth at the time, so my dad took me down to sort of the session there with sort of a lot of boys around my age, and then we moved to Tame a couple of years later. And a lot of my childhood, when I was playing local sort of clubs, was playing for Tame boys, sort of through the age group really, and it was quite nice because we sort of had a group that sort of we were together for about, I'd say, 7-8 years, with obviously a couple coming in and out. But yeah, I do remember sort of those kind of days that were good times, and yeah, very enjoyable.
Good stuff, mate. What about you, Pabs? Is yours differ to James's? Obviously, growing up in a different country.
Yes, it's very different actually. I didn't play organised football till I was about 11 years old. So my experiences of football were as a young lad growing up in Madrid, were had a big family in terms of my mum's side of the family, and you know, everyone was into football. My uncles, a lot of them were Real Madrid fans, a couple of Bilbao fans as well. So there was lots of, just culturally, you know, football was a big part of it. I remember going to the Bernabeu as a young lad as well, when we could. And in terms of playing, it was, you know, playing with my brother, playing with cousins out in the park, you know, in the local sort of football court or what have you, in Spain, and that those are my earliest memories. Watching my brother play for the school team, and I was too young to be in there at the time. But football's very different there in Madrid, because obviously, well, at least back then, there wasn't, you don't have a lot of grass where you can play, so there's like little.
Was there lots of street football and just sort of playing in hard courts and stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot of hard courts. That's what you find in most places. There's, you know, a little 5, 6-a-side hardcore concrete, where with the little goals that people from, because obviously it's a lot more built up there, and it's a lot of flats, so everyone lives in flats in Madrid really. So at the bottom of, say, a block of 5 or 6 flats, there's a little football pitch or what have you, and people from all around come down and play and that sort of thing, and that's all I can remember as a young lad, and then moved here and had a garden here, so playing in the garden, similar to Dobbo, just every second of the day, go to school, try and play football there, and then get home, play football in the garden, and go on, and then eventually joined a team. I think it was the start of under 12s, end of under 11s. I joined a team, and it was a local team to Aberdeen. And funnily enough, we had a bit of a rivalry at one point with Dobbo's team, Tame.
No way.
Yeah, they were a bit better than us, to be fair. But we
did he shoot on sight at that age as well?
Yeah, he still had the wand, didn't he? Still had the left. Yeah. I think we played maybe a cup final or something, and then a couple of league games here, and there was a bit of a rivalry, and yeah, no, it was that grassroots level. That was something I enjoyed really. Yeah.
I suppose, like with many kids now, if your first experience of football are not positive and you don't enjoy it, they tend to sort of steer off into other sports, or they lose interest quickly, don't they? So I suppose it's important that you have good positive experiences from a younger age.
Yeah.
Baz, when you were playing on the hard courts, was there all different ages? So were you able? So when you were starting out, like 6, 7 years old, were you playing against sort of older kids?
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of remember. You had hard courts, and then there was like little gravelly courts. Sort of it's almost sand, but it's quite hard. So I remember playing there, and when you're playing in those sort of, there's just whoever's around jumps and says, I'll play and I'll join in, and you get all sorts of different people playing, and it is different in that sense where you'd say I was maybe 8, then there could be some 12, 13-year-olds playing, or etc. Yeah.
So I suppose without even realising your development, if you're having to play against older children, it's probably helped a little bit in terms of your development, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that sort of, when you're playing and it's not organised and there's that fun element to it alongside, obviously it's going to be competitive because the aim of the game is to score and win, isn't it? So but because it's a more relaxed setting and you can just enjoy it, you haven't got any sort of pressures of anything else. You probably are unaware that it is part of developing as a footballer.
Yeah, excellent. Right, anyway, we'll move on to the second question. So, is there anybody that's inspired you? So it might be a player in the program, it might be a parent, it might be a coach that's inspired you, it might be another player that you played with. Is there anyone that's had a massive influence in terms of you being inspired by you? Dobbo?
A handful of players really. I mean, it's kind of, I forgot to mention it, as Pablo said, like as a youngster, I used to sort of go up north with my dad to see Man United play at Old Trafford, and the first game I think I went to watch was Eric Cantona came back in a reserve game, weirdly enough, and there was like 30,000 fans there, and I think I followed him for quite a long time because he was quite an icon sort of back in the day. But I think, I don't speak for everybody, but for me, there were a lot of players I followed that were kind of natural to my position. So, like I followed Cantona for a bit. Then obviously, I think David Beckham, I would look at quite a lot because there was a lot of things that I would try to sort of make similar in my game. But then I think in society now, like I only really followed a lot of players that the team I supported. But I think now, like a lot of kids, and probably we do as well, is you sort of highlight a lot of other players that you look at in other sort of stage of their career, really. I'm just trying to think in terms of players that I've played with. I know you've got that kind of question coming up in a bit, but I mean, you do obviously look at sort of things like, I remember when I was sort of Oxford growing up and looking at players in the first team, you kind of want to look at them and think, can I be in their position? The sort of handful of players that were there at the time, sort of players like Chris Wilmot, and obviously you two may know him. you know, someone who is a sort of true pro, you know, would train hard every day, and you sort of aspire to be like that when you sort of get to that point. You know, enough to be a competitive sort of playing, really. But yeah, sort of back to what I was saying from early age, I think a lot of kids will look at sort of teams they support and look at the top players, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that either, because you know, I think most sort of kids that do play football and want to play it and enjoy it aspire to be that as well.
Good stuff, mate. Pabs, anyone for you?
I think the earliest one I can remember was Raul playing for.
What a player!
Yeah, playing for Madrid. Obviously, like Dobbo said, it's usually someone from the team you support. So yeah, I can remember Raul, and I think maybe when I came over to England, then I think it's when Arsenal were sort of quite. I think I came over in about 2001, which is when Arsenal was strong. So I think I sort of gravitated towards them being sort of my English team as a young lad, and obviously then it's when you had Thierry Henry. So I'd want number 14 on my back and all that. Just you know, being able to watch him and what he could do and how he played was, I think, quite inspiring. And as a young lad, when you look at someone that's got that character as well, you know, I think that's all the more. He's not just a great player, but he had a bit of swagger about him and was fun to watch. I think but it is different now, as it, you know, a lot of people watch. It's so easy to watch players from all over. You know, when we were younger, maybe you'd, like Dobbo said, you know, you'd watch your club and in your country, but you know, now people watch Mbappe, Neymar, and then they got Spanish football, Italian. You can sort of pop around everywhere with the access they've got. So it has changed a bit on that front.
Yeah, I suppose it's important, really. There's obviously attributes that you can take off every player. And if you can just take parts and put them into your game as a young player, then you're going to be even better, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Right. Anyway, so we'll move on to sort of your journey through football. So, Dobbo, if you go first and just give us like a background of where your journey's gone in playing, a little bit of coaching. Obviously, I know you've had some coaching background as well. And just give us sort of an insight into what you've done.
Well, I'll kind of start from the point of where.
Start from sort of your first maybe professional environment.
Yeah. Well, it came to a point when I think I was about 12, 13 when I was at Tame. And kind of as Pablo says, like, you know, we're playing tournaments and things, and well, it's kind of what we're doing now to an extent, or, you know, in other backgrounds where scouts will be down at tournaments or in matches and sort of observing players. And obviously, fortunately for me, I got picked up at the time by Oxford. I think it was about 12 years old, if I can remember. I actually went there for about a year and a half, and then I dropped out and went back in. And then from about 14 years old to 18, I was sort of given a scholarship from 16 years old at Oxford and done the sort of 2-year scholar there. Unfortunately for me, I didn't get a professional contract, which at the time for me was quite a hard thing to take, because I got to a point in my life where, you know, that was all I wanted to do, was play football and play it professionally. You know, I obviously enjoyed doing it as a hobby, but if it was something I could do full time, that was something I want to go into. But I think looking at it now, rather than at the time, I'm kind of glad the route I've gone into. You know, I've on the side of that, when I was doing my scholarship, I sort of learned, got some coaching qualifications with that, like a level 2. And then I moved on to sort of doing a UEFA B license as well. So I've learned a lot in that side of it. It's kind of something that I'm doing at the moment in the evenings, sort of coaching kids. But then from leaving Oxford completely, I've just played a lot of semi-pro football. I'll probably say for about 5 or 6 years around the local area, obviously playing with you guys at Oxford City. And I think I came to a point actually in my career when I went to go sign for Aylesbury. I don't know if I might have mentioned this to you before, Moz, but yeah, I kind of I wouldn't really say like I went off the rails a little bit, but I kind of lost interest in sort of playing as high as I could of that aspect. It was, I was still enjoying my football, but probably wasn't taking it as seriously at first. But I put a bit of weight on. I was quite sort of top heavy, but also wasn't really looking after myself on that aspect as well. And I just got to a point where I think, Fraser, don't you? Fraser,
Yeah.
He was at Aylesbury, and he turned around to me and just said, you put on a little bit by the looks of it from what I'm seeing. And I kind of lost my head, in a weird way, but it kind of made me think about it a little bit more, about where I wanted to go. It was either, do I carry on sort of just as I am, or do I kind of work harder? And I don't know.
I suppose on that bit. I suppose, is it? Have you been watching The Last Dance?
Yes.
And obviously, a lot of Michael Jordan, he's always got a setback, hasn't he? He's always got someone sort of going at him or telling him that, or something that sort of gives him the drive to carry on. I suppose for you, obviously you reach that point where you either literally maybe not even continue playing if you're not enjoying it as much, or you go the other direction, don't you? Where you dig a little bit deeper and you find something that in you that you're able to train harder. And I remember the summer that when you were at Aylesbury, and was it the year after that you went to Slough, and they sort of said that you're gonna have to work for your place.
Well, that was when I was there at the time at Slough. I'd obviously I'd actually got released from there. They basically said that they didn't want me anymore, and I think that's when it kind of crept in without me even noticing. From what we were kind of talking about there, I put a little bit of weight on. I wasn't really as fit as I could be, and then it just got to a point, like my mum and dad have always been quite hard on me in terms of looking after myself and just balancing that sort of the lifestyle side of it along with my football, really. And I wouldn't really say it became complacent, but I think it was quite good to hear it from another person rather than my parents, family, or people that are really close to me. Someone basically just saying to me, look, kind of told me the truth, really, and it did kind of hurt in a way. But
I remember that summer, mate. You worked so hard, didn't you, to get yourself trimmed down and get yourself fit.
Yeah, and the thing is, it doesn't matter whether it's someone like myself or people who play top flight football. You see it more so, kind of what Pabs was saying before. You see a lot more players now and what they do off the field, more so than when we were younger as kids. Really, you kind of just see them face value for what they were as football players. So the hard work side of it, I've always liked to think I've worked quite hard, but I think it was just a case of upping my levels a little bit, really. And I'd probably say from then I've just kept it at a standard, really, where I was still playing SemiPro football to a point where I am now, but keeping that lifestyle sort of to the balancing side of it, where just keeping my football and keeping fit, and then when I can, really. But I think that's kind of where I've got myself today, just by working hard, really, and taking opportunity.
So after that, you had some good years at Slough, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a brilliant team at the time, and they're all kind of still there now, really. There's only sort of one or two, including myself, that have moved on. But fortunately, I played with a really good team. We had a really good understanding, and for me, I excelled and I scored quite a lot of goals over the couple of seasons as well, and enjoyed some playoff promotion alongside it as well. And like I said, that kind of attracted interest from elsewhere. I come to a point I'm 28 now, and I'm trying to think, it was about a year back, and Pabs will probably know this as well. It's difficult, and yourself, Mozza, it's difficult playing semi-pro football and balancing work around it. Even though you see it from my point of view, where I was at Slough doing really well, I actually struggled with work at that time, just kind of balancing around it. It did sort of stress me out at times, but that was where, for me, the football was a bit of a release in a way. But it's quite different now. Like I said, I went to Sutton after Slough and played there for, it was about just under half a season. Really enjoyed that. It was training sort of 3 times a week, sort of all morning sessions, but I was still at work at the time, my previous job. with Slough, and then signed for Dagenham the season after. So yeah, been there a season now. Obviously a short season with what's going on at the moment, but yeah, that's full time. And like I said, when I was 18 years old, that's what I wanted to do. So it's a bit strange how like I've sort of gone back to semi-pro for a period of time and come back to it now, really. And yeah, I just sort of
stuff, mate.
Don't take anything for granted, really, is the best way to put it. You know, I really enjoy going to train every day, working hard and just doing my best, really.
Good stuff, mate. Very good. Right, Pabs, on to you, pal.
Where do you want me to start? Sort of.
Just start. Start from your playing. So your first maybe semi-pro side that you joined, and then how it sort of transitioned into the coaching side. Because I know you did a uni course, didn't you?
Yeah. So when I was about 18, we were in obviously living in Aberdeen. The local club here was Aberdeen United, and you know, I think I started there as an under 16, and my first sort of experience of a first team was around that age, where I was just sort of sitting on the bench for Aberdeen United, and it was all, I was sort of quite wide-eyed and men's football, and I was still a young boy, and it was quite daunting at the time. But I really enjoyed it, and there were some great people there. We had a manager called Andy Slater, he's just the greatest bloke. And everyone, it was a sort of club where it had some really good players, but probably players that had hit that point similar to Dobbo, where, you know, they're getting to the age where football maybe isn't the most important thing or what have you, and balancing work and football. And I think at that level, that's very normal. But I had a great time there and stayed there for quite a few years as sort of a young player. And then I think the change was, I was about 18 when Justin Merritt rang me to join Nomads with you boys. I think I might have come the year before, maybe you two. I sort of joined halfway through the season, and then we put that team the year after.
I remember when you come in, you were so skinny for starters. And I remember you coming in and training and stuff. And we sort of had, there was a lot of players sort of going to play for the first team every now and again. There was players coming up from sort of the youth levels. We never really had any sort of settled side. And then the year after is when Meza sort of developed that side. And that's probably, for me, that was probably the most enjoyable season that I've had in terms of the football we played. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it was great. And I think what was important, we actually had an unbelievable team for the level we were playing at. We were playing Hellenic football. Back then, I think the Hellenic football was a lot better than what it is now. No, I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but we had a tough league, and there was some good teams. And you look at our team and who we had in there and how good they were for that level. It was quite scary, and probably not a surprise we actually won the league once it all clicked.
Do you think obviously having a team that was probably way better than the level, do you think that was why we were able to play almost total football at times?
Yeah, probably. Obviously, if you know, to be a good team and to be successful, you need really good players, and for the level you're playing, and for the level that we were playing at the time, we were. You know, you look at us three here, and Connor, Booker, do you know what I mean? Albie, Zach McEachran, you know what I mean?
We had Reece playing, Reece Fleet.
Yeah, I mean...
Kynan.
Yeah.
Bit of a joke, really.
I don't know if you ever thought that before. I mean, I always think of it sometimes, like, I know obviously things ended the way they did and people went their own ways, but do you reckon if that team stayed together, like, over a period, I don't know, just say a period of like 3-4 seasons, we would have achieved more?
Oh, definitely. 100%.
Yeah,
it's when we all went to Whitney, and then it all fell down because of Dobbo's wages. But mate, 100%. If that side had stayed together, look at Albie now, like doing wonders at Yeovil and yourself and everything, and mate, 100%. Like Meza knows
The only reason why
that sort of
I
level.
say that, like, fortunately for me, like when I was at Slough, like I said, a lot of the players have stayed together. So I always relate it back to that, like, because it was such a good team and we had a lot of young players, and we had a couple of players that were experienced. I always just wonder, like, if that team stuck together, like it could have gone even further potentially. But I think you always look at that and play for, really.
But then as obviously perhaps we'll go into it now. Obviously his experience that he's had at Hereford and what you've done at Slough and everything, you don't really know, do you? Like, you've gone on to do great things so far. And if Whitney hadn't have stopped, you don't know if you would have had those experiences, would you?
Yeah, it is strange how it worked out.
Perhaps you sort of going to obviously to say what happened after that for you.
So just last thing I'll say about Nomads team we had is that we were all good mates. Everyone, like, it was quite a close bunch, and I think that was a massive thing that helped us. Probably why everyone wanted to try and go to Whitney. Obviously myself, I didn't. I went a slightly different way. When everyone went to Whitney after that, I joined Didcot, and had, I think it was like 3 years there, again as a young player, and got to experience sort of being a regular in a first team at, I think that's South and West level, and again played with some really good players there, and I think that my last year at Didcot was maybe my best. We just missed out on playoffs, but we had a good FA Trophy run where we were unlucky at Forest Green, and that was a year where Millsy was there and he scored something ridiculous. It was, I don't know,
banging goal, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was frightening. And then
went it over 50.
Yeah, I think I want to say it was 70 between us was sort of what people said, but I got like 13.
The important ones, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it did me some favours to be involved with that. So, and then that's when Hereford were just restarting, and we played. The reason me and Millsy went to Hereford was probably because we played Merthyr, I think 4 times that year with cups and league and stuff. And the manager there was a great bloke called Steve Jenkins, who knew Peter Beadle and actually ended up being the assistant thereafter with Beads a year into Hereford. So Jenk sort of told Beads about us, and Beads, I think, came and watched us. And at the time, I'd left Didcot. I tried to go to Oxford City, and I'd been training with the first team, and eventually they said to me that I weren't going to get minutes there, etc. The way it come about was a bit odd, really. It was a bit of a shock. It wasn't the manager that told me, it was somebody else, and it was a bit of a shambles. And at the time, when you hear it like that, you're a bit down. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's rejection, and that's tough to take for anyone. But funnily enough, it worked out. I think that same day, John Mills rang me and said, the Hereford manager's been in touch. He's looking for players. Would you be interested? And we went there, and I had 3 years there that, comfortably the highlight of my sort of playing. And we done 3 promotions. So we started Midlands League, won that league, won the South and West, and then won the Southern Prem.
I've just got a question. Obviously, when you were at Hereford, I mean, for a team like going there, it was always like the preparation was, obviously they've got a big fan base, and they're a club that are quite well highlighted in that league. We're dropping down, but they've obviously still got the foundations. Like, how did you find that playing, with all those fans sort of behind you? Did it give you like an extra buzz, like playing?
Yeah, massively. I think at the start, the first few bits, it's like quite new, and then you just grow accustomed to it, and it still motivates you, and it's still just such a pleasure. And we're very fortunate that or I feel very fortunate that I was able to play there, and playing in front of that many people was, as a non-league footballer, obviously it might sound a bit silly for people that play higher and are better players, but for players in non-league to be able to play in front of crowds of 3,000 to 4,000, regular.
That's like is the equivalent of a champ Prem player, like playing in front of 50,000 for players like us. Like, yeah. And I remember that was probably one of the first experiences I had playing against your team and playing in front of a number of that. And I remember it becomes a little bit daunting, like as you probably have experienced with all the other teams coming to you and playing there. Like, when the fans get behind you and there's a number like that, it's well, obviously great for you, but like I said, it can put teams under pressure, can't it? Really?
Yeah, but you think that?
Dobbs, you scored there, didn't you?
Yeah, I got 2, I think. Don't want to talk about it, but
did you score at Hereford?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fortunately enough, yeah. But no, like I said, I think for you, Matt, it must have been a really good club to play for.
Yeah, very, very fortunate, and we had, obviously, as well as the 3 league promotions, we got to the FA Vase final, which probably, although I don't like to remember it too much, as we didn't win, and it still stings very much, and it's still a splinter. You got to look back, and walking out there at Wembley it's got to be a highlight, even though it was frustrating on the day. You look back on it and think that's something that we're fortunate to have been able to do and experience. So those 3 years were just the highlight, and we had a great squad, and obviously the year we actually won that league was the same year Dobbo got promoted, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that year, the top 4 all had more than 100 points. So, that felt like a real achievement. And very fortunate. And like I said, that's the highlight for me. And something that, like you say, you don't know how things are going to work out, but, through so many different paths and things happening, I ended up somewhere which, I didn't think in a million years I'd be able to do as a non-player, and I'm very fortunate to have been able to do
exactly. Everything happens for a reason, and that's obviously why it happened, mate. And what an experience to have, to be able to play at Wembley in front of that many people. Although you lost the game, like you said, but mate, I remember watching that game, and what a start! You won 1-0 up, didn't you?
Yeah, within 30 seconds, Rob Purdy scored a banger from about 30 yards.
Yeah.
And then for 20 minutes, honestly, we had so many chances. I missed the gilt-edged one that sticks in my mind. Every time I think about it, it hurts.
They were a good side, weren't they? They played some good football.
Unbelievable. They were so good.
Yeah.
They were probably better than us. They had a lot of sort of Newcastle boys, Sunderland boys.
Yeah. The two central midfield players for them. Thomas. He absolutely bossed the game. He was so good.
Yeah, he ran.
And then and then Pabs, obviously after that, talk just about how you got involved in coaching, and especially obviously going into somewhere like Oxford United as foundation phase lead. That must be amazing.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I'd been coaching sort of throughout playing, similar to Dobbo. We have to try and balance playing and football, and what naturally fits is coaching with what we do. So I started coaching. I was about, I think, 21, 22 at Oxford with the under 10s, and loved it. Loved every moment of it, working with young players, and did about 3 years with the under 10s. moved to the under 14s, then 15s, and then just recently, about a year ago, took over as foundation phase lead. And I loved coaching. I love being on the grass, and I think it helps you as a player. You know, as much as people say, you know, having played helps you coach, I think coaching helps you play, and it's you know, it helps you think about the game and try and understand things, and you know, it's something that I've loved doing. And then this year being full time has been great, just to be around you know, a professional football club. There's so many good people at the club, so many people pulling in the same direction, just trying to improve. And you know, the first team, you know, the whole first team players and staff, you know, have been outstanding. They're all, you know, great people, and it's just a pleasure to be around them. And within the academy, there's so many good things going on, and so many people that are fantastic sort of men and working hard to just improve the lives of young men and invest in them and try and you know, develop them not only as footballers but as people as well. And I think that's something that's quite special about the club at the moment.
That's one thing that I've found in a lot of academies, that it's not just about the football anymore, is it? It's about developing the person.
Yeah, and I think you have to be, you know, with you look at the world now and how it is, and you know, it's just, for a young person, it must be just crazy, you know, with social media and how connected everything is. It's probably a lot more complicated than when we were younger. It was quite straightforward for us. You got on your bike at 9 a.m, went to your mate's house, were out all day, and came back, and that was it. But now, you know, there's so many things going on for those young lads. I imagine it can be quite complicated, you know, with school and everything. So yeah, you got to look after. At the end of the day, you're looking after young people, and you've got to try and do the best for them. Yeah.
Good stuff, boys. Right, so we'll move on to the next one. So we're going to go winning versus development. Now, I hear this debate all the time. And Pabs, obviously, you'll have a bit more of an insight into it at Oxford United, okay? But obviously, we always see it at non-league, especially players go through an academy system. They then get released, and they come into an adult environment or a men's football first team environment, and they just sink because the physicality of the league or how the football's played, it just doesn't fit. So where do you, in terms of their development throughout their sort of younger years, where winning should be maybe coached, or maybe they should learn to win? Dobbs, you want to go first?
Yeah, it's a tough one, that I think, Moz. Like, for me, I think it all falls down to opinion and development, really. And the only reason why I kind of know that is purely from experience, really. Like, I before, like, I went to Oxford United when I was 12, and you know, you come out of an environment where you're at a local side. You know, most boys around that age group are sort of playing football purely for the enjoyment. It's a hobby. It's something they do, you know, apart from being at school and being at home, kind of thing. So I kind of went there, and you learn a lot of things, really. I remember something quite specifically, actually. You know, I was there when I was 12, and it was a bit of a challenge for me because, you know, I was in a competitive environment. You either go one way or the other. You can either excel in it or find it quite tough. And there were games like I was going into, and I was finding it quite tough because, you know, naturally you're coming up against sort of better opposition. Some days I come home and, you know, feel great. Some days I come home and, you know, like we'd lost or something, and it kind of get you down. But the thing that kind of stood out for me is, you know, I wanted to play in tournaments, in summer tournaments, and, like, you know, you two will relate to this. Sometimes for me, like, at that age, it was nothing better than being in the sun, like, you know, your parents being there, being with your mates, like that was a competitive edge. And, you know, for my local side, we were very fortunate to win like a lot of things in it. And it got to a point where Oxford United weren't letting me play in the tournaments like for my local club, because they wanted to look after me, the kind of foundation them. And I do understand why they did that, and I don't disagree with what they did at the time. But my dad pulled me out of the age group at that time because he just wanted me to enjoy my football, and that's a conversation me and my dad had with each other, and that's kind of all that mattered really. And I spent another year playing with Tame again, and then I actually got called back at Oxford when I was about 14, 15, and I think for me at that time was where that can be quite a pivotal age, I think personally, where sort of things happen a little bit differently. People either follow their route of playing football, or secondary schools in place, like there's other sports people go and play and other interests and hobbies, and people kind of drift apart. And it's a little bit like what Pabs was saying in men's football, like in terms of work, like football for them, I know it's a bit different because they're 14, 15. It's not the most important thing for them. And I got to a point where, football was still important for me. I wanted to excel in it. And I think around that age, 14, 15, like I said, it's an opinion, but I think that's where winning mentality needs to sort of happen really, because, development can happen at that age. But I think if you start putting those foundations in place and you can excel and kind of run away with them, then most of the time that's how people progress at the highest standard, I think.
Mate, exactly what I think. That's it, sort of bracket age group you said. I think it's so important. I said, there's so many players I see that just sometimes struggle to adapt, and sometimes you got to win ugly, and there's lots of times where they come in and it's all pretty and it's all nice, but sometimes you got to just throw that out the window sometimes and just try and find a way to win. And I just think sometimes they struggle a little bit, and I just think Go on, Pabs. What do you think?
Sorry, mate. Pabs, just stop. Just while there's one thing. I mean, I don't know whether that was sort of the question you asked, but it's a bit of a catch-22, like where the enjoyment side of it is like, I've heard we had family friends at one point where like his son was at like Manchester City and he was like 6 years old, and it's like sounds brilliant. It sounds brilliant on paper, but I think sometimes like that can be quite a dangerous thing where parents get caught up in the midst of, my son's at Manchester City.
Yeah.
He's 6 years old. He's learning from the very best, and they are in some aspects, but there's a very fine line between being there and learning at the highest standard and enjoyment really. And I think the worst thing is, I mean, Pablo will probably know more than me with what he does now, but like I think if you've got a kid that's 6 years old somewhere like that, just as an example, but the enjoyment might dip and get to a point where they don't like football, that's where it could be quite dangerous, where they, like you said earlier, the kind of, you want a positive experience from playing football, and if it's a negative experience where it's something like that, that's obviously where it can turn a little bit sticky.
Now Pabs will know more. Obviously, being a foundation phase lead, you got to catch them in that area, and then when it moves on to the youth development phase, I suppose that's Pabs, you'll probably know a little bit more. That's maybe where you start to develop the game understanding a bit more, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough. There's no right answer. I don't think there is.
No.
And what would work for an individual might not work for another, or one club might not work for another, etc. But I think that ballpark sort of figure of under 14, under 13 is when you start thinking about. I don't think it should overtake development at that age, but I think it should be a part of it. And I think it has to be structured as well. It's just sort of, if you're going to try and, you think we try and teach technique, you put a syllabus together and what points you're working on, you think about what you would like or what a club would like. I think you have to sort of add some structure to how you want to try and teach people to win and what it means to win and what is involved in winning that you feel you need to teach. I think that's important. And
Pat, do you use scenarios and stuff?
Yeah, in training,
during sessions.
Yeah, it's something that I've done personally, and it's something that can add a lot to a session in regards to the tempo, the enjoyment, how much people buy into what you're doing. But yeah, I think also it's important as a young age to also expose them to competition and winning. Maybe not as consistently as you would older, but I think some of the really good memories that I imagine Dobbo has as playing, as he just mentioned, winning little tournaments, in the summer, those bits are really important for kids. And I think you still need to expose them to those scenarios, and something that we do, playing festivals. And, for example, this year we went up to Liverpool and played some festivals there with some great clubs. And, that was a great experience for the boys. So I think throughout the academy, kids have to be exposed to it. I think as you get older, obviously, naturally, it's got to be more and more. But I don't think at any point until you get to that under 16, under 18, that you should, even then you'd question whether it should overtake development. Because, for a club, it's not as important for, to win games of football as an under 18 side as it is to try and push players into a first team. So I think it's just a spectrum. And as you get older, you've got to expose them more, because they're tools and little bits that they're going to need to know when they're exposed in a first team environment, when the objective is 3 points at all costs, or nearly at all costs, I guess, depending on who's who. But I think, spectrum, and as you get older, it becomes more evident, and having some structure to it would probably help.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Right, okay, we'll move on to next. We've got two more. We'll do two more, and then we'll wrap it up. So, Dobbs, you go first. What does your typical working week look like? So how long do you train for? What does it look like?
We sort of arrive in the morning about sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock. We'll sort of congregate in it's like a little social club where we train. We'll have breakfast together, just catch up. There may be like a sort of analysis video from Saturday's game or in the week, sort of talk about what we're going to do. And then it will just be a case of going to get changed and then out on the pitch, really. And we're out there for sort of about 2 hours, and it varies from anything, really. Beginning of the week is usually sort of hard work, sort of putting us through our paces. And then, like I said, sort of towards the, if there's a Tuesday game, for instance, if we're in on the Monday, it'd just be sort of looking at the team that we're coming up against, and similar to the Fridays training as well. And then that'll be incorporated sometimes after training, where we'd have a gym session, just working on strength, and we have individual programs as well that we work on. So like I said, it's a bit obviously something that I really, really enjoy now, but like I said sort of previously, I really do appreciate where I am at now, because I know what it's like to be, like a semi-pro footballer and having a job on the side of it. And it's tough. Like I said, it does require dedication and hard work, really. And, sometimes when you've had a day at work, doesn't matter what you do, like the last thing you want to do is, if you want to go to the gym, like to do strength work, or I don't know, go for a run or something, like sometimes you look at, do I want to do it? But, players that are dedicated and things like that, that's how it worked when I was sort of playing pro, really. But very fortunate for where I am now.
Good stuff, Bob, Dobbs. And Pams, obviously yours is going to look a little bit different. What's yours look like?
Yeah, just we're sort of I'm in every day, Monday to Friday. Sort of get in start work around 8:30, and then we train 3 evenings a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the foundation phase train. So those days are obviously quite long, where you're in early, and you finish quite late after the boys have trained in the evening. The daytime is a lot of organising, preparation, sort of trying to make sure the programme is running well, what can be done better, and the day-to-day of it. And then, sort of alongside that with my playing, I sort of train on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and it is, you know, there is a balance to that, trying to fit it.
Do you get any free time? Because your games must be Sunday morning, so game Saturday, Sunday morning games.
Yeah, it's seven.
Not a day free, is there?
7 days a week. We get a day off in the week at Oxford, so because obviously we work on a Sunday, I'm off usually on a Tuesday, sort of to help with if I need to travel to football or what have you. And then game Saturday, and then we have matches with the kids on Sunday. So it's full on. And sometimes.
Would you have it any other way?
Nah, not at all. If you want to be involved in football, that's sort of what it is. It's people play matches on the weekend. So I just and as well, when you're doing a job like this where you're involved in something that, you know, you're a fan of and you love doing, it's not as grueling as maybe as if you were sat in an office. You know, there's something that, you know, usually you're around people that are similar to you in a few ways. You know, footballers and people that are into football are quite similar in a lot of ways. So you get on with a lot of people, and it's a really good environment that I'm fortunate enough to work in. So so it's full on, but it is fun, and it's what you enjoy doing. So you're happy with it.
Good stuff. Good. Sounds great. Right, we've got one more. So, Dobbs, you can go first. What advice would you give your younger self, if you could, or what advice would you give any young player wanting to do well in the game?
It's probably what I've spoken about, really. I think the hard work and dedication is paramount, and you know, I think players like myself, you know, non-league players who are trying to strive to be something better, like it's a bit like Pabs, what he's involved in as well. I think the fundamentals are there. That is where the root is, really. If you want to excel, and sometimes it does require to do extra. And like I said, that can be the difference sometimes between certain people. But yeah, that's what advice I'd give to myself, definitely, as a younger player. Like I said, that period of time where I became a little bit demotivated with it, I probably would have sort of said that to myself at that time, really. But like I said, it happens for a reason. And yeah, like I said, any other young player, that's what advice I would give them.
Excellent. Pabs?
I think, I mean, I think it's going to be similar to Dobbo. It's always going to be around a work ethic and what have you. I think for me, you just have to be, if you really want to try and, you know, be the best player you can be, you have to get to a point where you're almost obsessed with it. You know, you'd rather work on trying to improve than do anything else, than, you know, play on the PlayStation or do what have you. And I think, it's got to be a certain level. Obsession might not be the right word, and it's hard to find one, but it's got to be, you know, you got to live it and breathe it, and you know,
you've almost got to be addicted to getting better, haven't you? You got to work every day to try and strive to be better, because you perhaps you'll know it's hardly any roles within football you think about that are available, or even the percentage of players that make it from academy into first team football is so small, isn't it? That you have to be able to be addicted to getting better every single day. Otherwise, you might not get there. Would you agree? Yeah,
definitely. And I think it doesn't really matter where you are. It's about that development and improving, and it's development, not a straight line. So, you know, you're going to have ups and downs and setbacks. But if you take consistent action and keep working and you know, be honest with yourself in, you know, what you need to improve and where you are. You know, if I was looking at myself as a young lad, I'd look at myself and I'd tell myself I need to become a better athlete. You know, I should have played football as much as I did, but also maybe joined an athletics club to try and be a better athlete. Or, you know, it's that sense of I'm doing everything I can. And if at the end of the day it doesn't work out, you know, there's still roots in football that are gonna be really special. You know, you look at 3 people here who, as kids, we all wanted to play for in the Prem and be the top scorer and be the best player in the world. You know, that was our dream as kids. But you look at where football has taken us and the path that it's taken us on, it's got us, like Dobbo said earlier, I think everyone I know, everyone I'm close to, I've met through football. I really do. It just offers you so much. I'm fortunate enough to earn money from football. You know, it's how I earn a living, and you know, you got to be obsessed as a young man to try and get to where you want to go, and then obviously understand that setbacks are going to happen and keep going. But what we're involved in, it's always going to provide you with something that is special, and that's what sports is all about, really.
Yeah, couldn't have put it any better myself, mate. Hit the nail on the head. Thanks, boys. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do last little bit. We're just going to do 4. Sort of basically you're going to choose one or the other. Okay, so quick fire, just one or the other. Dobbo can go first. So Messi or Ronaldo, mate?
Ronaldo for me.
Pabs?
Messi.
Okay, good. Dobbs, Premier League or La Liga?
Premier League for me.
Pabs?
Premier League.
Oh, okay, good. Route 1 or through the thirds?
Through the thirds. The only reason why I say I can get the ball otherwise.
Yeah,
then you can't shoot as often. Good. And last one, league win or cup final win?
I'm going league win.
Pabs? If it was the FA Vase back.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I think league wins are more special because it just is such a group effort, and from staff to players to everyone involved. I think you've got to take the league win, but if it was at Wembley, I might take that.
I love it, boys. Boys, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I'll speak to you all soon. Hopefully we'll see each other. And we'll catch up soon.
Nice one.
Thanks, boys.